Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Fodlord versus Tarsh in round 2 of the 5th Asia Pacific tournament. Today we are seeing Sainte-Mère-Église, and on the allied side the 3rd Canadian Infantry under command of Fodlord, and on the Axis side the 352nd. Now this is a matchup that we've seen before in terms of divisions in the lower bracket previously. It was Bumblebee versus Inhari, and Inhari failed to bring in any AT guns early on, and it allowed the 3rd Canadian to advance with impunity. But in this case, I don't think that Tarsh is going to allow that to happen, so it'll be interesting to see exactly what sort of matchup we'll get. On the tops and bottom side of the town, there are a lot of good places to ambush with AT guns, so that will definitely prevent the Ram 2 from being super aggressive early on, as it may get penetrated at close range if it decides to try and push through with the infantry and so on. So it's going to be a matter of using the infantry, the rifles, to push through these orchards and sort of spot the enemy units. Also, like a high use of recon will definitely be necessary to breach through either the top or bottom side. On the side of Tarsh, this bottom side is pretty rough for him. He can probably remain relatively defensive in these orchards, but the issue would be when he tries to push out of the orchards, because he will be covered by sort of machine guns and yeah, just like the brain carriers and all that kind of stuff. Like infantry will get pinned down in the open, and it'll be very difficult to push across this area, especially if he's relying on stuff like Osttruppen that, you know, suffers for the morale due to it being disheartened. That's not to say that he wouldn't be able to do it. Like an IGA team might be able to cover him quite well, because the 3rd Canadian Infantry don't have any strong support at the 1,000-meter range. Things like the Rams, for example, like they're fantastic against other tanks, but they don't have any HE on their main guns, so they can't support at range. They also only have like one machine gun, and that's a limited amount of suppression. There's no other like strong 1,000-meter or even 1,200-meter range HE units available in Phase A, so the Canadians won't have those either. So it looks like Tarsh up here, he's going to be going for Grenadiers and a Command Infantry for the top side. He's got 2 Grenadiers and Command Infantry for the mid. For the bottom side, it's going to be 2 units of Osttruppen, the Recon, Command, and what I believe is an IG-18 so far. Over on the side of Fodlord, he's going to be taking the Ram to the top side with the 2 rifles. There's going to be some recon infantry, and also the Vickers HMG. For the town, it's going to be 1 unit of stormtroopers, 1 unit of rifles, command infantry, and the Wasp Mark II. Further down, Wasp Mark II, rifles, and Vickers HMG. So I'm assuming he's going to do like a 2-prong attack into the town, possibly, unless these forces are going down to the bottom. But I don't know why you'd start these on this lower road if you wanted them to go to the town, because you ideally want to take the most direct route since it's a lot faster. Then on the bottom side, it's just going to be a universal carrier with the recon there, and the Lloyd carrier with the AT gun. So this universal carrier, these were the things I was talking about that might be able to hold back the infantry at range. They have a reasonable amount of suppression. It just really depends on what other infantry support is nearby. There's anything been added here. There's been a Panzerschreck and a mortar for the top side, Tarsh, and on the bottom here, more units coming down. Osttruppen, another Grenadier. That's going to be some Fusiliers. So a strong infantry setup from Tarsh. No reliance on the Panzerjägers just yet, but we are underway. So let's slow it down, and yeah, let's have a look at where these guys are going. So we've got a large clump of infantry going to the top side and the bottom side of Tarsh, with a smaller force going to the centre, which makes sense since his infantry won't be able to contest the stormtroopers very well. Also, of course, these wasps will cause a lot of problems. I'm just interested to see where these forces are going, because bringing down a wasp to this area seems a little odd, since it could quite easily be countered by an AT gun from range. But saying that, there is 0 AT guns on the side of Tarsh. He does, however, have a Panzerschreck for the top side, so that will help him deal with the Ram 2 if he spots it. For Fodlord. He is going to push quite aggressively on the bottom side with the universal carrier. However, that may be countered by the IG-18. And this AT gun is within the 1000 meter range as well, so the IG-18 will get a lot of shots on target. Let's go to Tarsh's perspective, see what he spots. He can see the universal carrier there, and his grenadiers have unloaded for the mid. I like how he's got them spread out like this. He's got squads either side of the buildings rather than all in the buildings, so that if any infantry tries to move up either side of the buildings or in the center there and is in line of sight, the grenadiers can open up with their machine guns. So that's really nice. On this top side, grenadiers are overrunning the rifles there, but we are going to see the ram reveal itself and also the universal carrier on that top side. Universal carrier was taken out on the bottom side by the IG-18 right now. Aufklärer can see the scouts out in the open, so they're going to get hit and taken out. Removing that recon from Fodlord is actually a really big deal, and this IG-18 could do a lot of work here due to there being not really anything that can stop it, especially with the universal carrier going down. Now this is an FK-18 at very close range. That's going to be arting towards the center. Panzerschreck is in the smoke. It's going to be sneaking up to the face of this Ram 2. Oh dear. Ram 2 is currently firing at the grenadiers, and that's going to be a dead Ram 2 at the start of the game. That is not a good place for Fodlord to be. He needs to rely on those Ram 2s moving into phase B often, and in this case he's not going to have them available. Oh, I actually really like the use of this SBW-204 CDM here. And with the 7 AP, it's really good for dealing with the Wasp Mark II. There is a Wasp coming up onto this top side. That's not good. But the Panzerschreck here, that's going to take out the universal carrier. It might even be able to take care of the Wasp as well. The Wasp is currently trying to kill off the FK-18. Grenadiers still pinning down enemy rifles, so that engagement is going well in favour of Tarsh at this point. Wasp is really looking for the kill onto that FK-18 for sure. Now the IG-18 did get the kill onto the 6-pounder like predicted. We do see an artillery piece coming up to the mid here. That's going to be another FK-18, I think. Panzerschreck desperately trying to get up into the face of this Wasp to take that out. Tarsh should be able to, but not going to be able to save the FK-18. This Panzerschreck, 3 rockets, 3 kills. Very nice job indeed so far. Another Wasp has come in to push back the Grenadiers on the top side and the Osttroop in here. So it looks like Fodlord has stabilized regardless of losing that Wasp on the right. However, on this bottom side, things looking really in favour of Tarsh, and there is nothing really to stop the infantry from starting to charge forwards once this SBW-204 gets involved. The Wasp is going to be maybe forced around this tree line, and if it is, then the IG-18 can start firing on it. If it is not, then the SBW-204 will be able to start firing on it. And that SBW-204, it can fire relatively quickly. Not as quickly as the 5 AP version, but still quick enough to take it out. And there we go. Job done. Now on this top side, Wasp has got in range of the Grenadiers. And this Wasp is a really, really good choice against Grenadiers because Grenadiers don't have Panzerfausts. So that's something you can definitely take advantage of, and that's why Tarsh is relying so heavily on this Panzerschreck. But if the Panzerschreck went down at any point, then he would be in trouble because he would need to obviously buy in another one or whatever else. And with that Wasp dying, the territory has swung completely in favour of Tarsh here, and you can see Tarsh is going to try and take advantage of that by attack moving all of his units forwards. The SBW-204 is spotting the rifles in the tree line here. They're going to take a lot of damage in the process. 25-pounder is going to try and pin down this infantry as it advances. On the top side, Panzerschreck did manage to kill off the Wasp, but took 1 health damage there. One of the soldiers died. So I think like a replacement Panzerschreck would work well on the top side right now, just to make sure that if any new Wasps came in, they wouldn't just be able to run over his entire infantry here. There is also the Befehlpanzer III, but the Befehlpanzer III at close range can be sort of overrun by a Wasp, in a sense that the Wasp will force it to move every time it fires its napalm, since the tanks don't like to sit on the napalm. But the Panzerjägers have now arrived. They're going to be taking out that carrier on the top side of the town. The Grenadiers, I like how these Grenadiers are just really well placed. It's really good. A Fusilier is now going to be used to try and find infantry in the town, but the stormtroopers there getting a grenade off onto the Fusiliers is definitely going to take them down a notch. They lost all but one man. The Osttruppen now engaging those rifles from range, but not doing too much suppression since the rifles are in heavy cover. The Grenadiers here currently pinned down. Honestly, this Panzer III could just move in for close range fire support. There's no AT gun that's been revealed up on the top side so far, so that's definitely something that Tarsh could do with his Panzer III. And it looks like he is going to be attack moving that forwards. On this bottom side, that is going to be a Pak 38 arriving, just to cover the open here as his infantry advances. The Osttruppen definitely making some ground here. The Aufklärer also moving up, unlikely to be spotted since there's no more recon on the side of Fodlord. Fodlord definitely needs to invest in recon on this bottom side if he wants to control it, because otherwise things are really going to fall away from him. Now up here, the Panzerschreck has been killed off. It did not have the engagement range to hit the rifles. The Stormtroopers, though, they're getting really close, and they're going to be able to throw their grenade without being in line of sight, which is really smart. They're going to land that on the Grenführer, and they're dead already. So that takes away the command, but there is the Befehlpanzer III still, so that's not going to make any of these surrender, and the Stormtroopers get instant pinned down. There's no command on the side of Fodlord, so if those Stormtroopers don't die, they will end up surrendering if these rifles get pinned down as well. Those guys surrender. Now, if you guys didn't know, infantry within, I think, 50 meters of infantry that's not pinned won't surrender. So if you have like 2 units of infantry next to each other, and one's pinned and one is not, they won't surrender until both of them are pinned. That's why sometimes it's a bad idea to click the fallback button, because it will move them out of that 50-meter range, and therefore your squad will insta-surrender as soon as it is. Now, this FK-18 is going to be counter-battering and killing the 25-pounder here. That should never really happen, since the 2,000-meter range on the FK-18 means it has to be very close to this town. However, there's nothing really that Fodlord can do about it. He can't get infantry to the edge of the town since he'll get hit very hard by the MGs and the Panzerjäger. And this IG-18 is just stealing the show down here. It's really doing a fantastic job. A second one is coming in, and Tarsh recognizing that him utilizing these IG-18s early on is doing him a lot of favors. Now in Phase B, Fodlord will have a few units that he can use to deal with IG-18s, like the Sexton 2 stars. Those things can be really, really effective at taking on the Pak 38 IG-18 combo, and that's a lot of the reason that the 716th and the 352nd are no longer as prevalent in the game, because they are really hard countered by artillery early on. And the 25-pounder was supposed to be that hard counter for Fodlord, but it did get counter-batteried by the FK-18, so fantastic job. Tarsh just going to allow the Panzer III to engage that Wasp. Wasp, though, did manage to kill off some of the Grenadiers. Staghound AA getting involved there. Panzer III does not need to back off in this instance. Tarsh just needs to make sure that he micros that to attack the Wasp regardless of this fire. And he is going to get the kill, so that's really good. Panzerjäger does take a shot from a 6-pounder, so that 6-pounder is now in position. FK-18 now going to be engaging rifles on the bottom side. Has this Aufklärer spotted the 6-pounder though? Let's have a look. It has not. So if any sort of units start to come down on this bottom side, we may see them be in trouble. The SPW-204 took a weapon jam. Maybe that got hit by the 6-pounder, which is why Tarsh is not being as aggressive with his vehicles than otherwise he should be. 6-pounder is going to be hit by the FK-18 here. Looks like they're firing further forwards though, since Fodlord has moved that forwards. That's going to get line of sight onto the Panzer III. Panzer III, however, is going to move forwards and try and surrender these rifles. Does manage to do so. Now looking for the kill onto the Staghound AA. Fodlord's going to be responding with the Ram 2, which is a nice choice. He just needs to make sure that he doesn't allow it to get killed by another Panzerschreck, for example. Now these Osttruppen, they're getting pretty low on ammunition for their machine gun, and that could cause issues when it comes up to engaging these stormtroopers or the rifles here, because you can see the suppression just won't be the same without the machine guns. Like in between reloads, the Osttruppen are sitting ducks really for the stormtrooper to just come in and throw a grenade on them. So it looks like Tarsh is going to lose the ground there, and currently only a +1 for Tarsh. has slowly been building up the points. FK18 is still trying to find the shot onto the 6-pounder, but missing. It might not matter though, because this 6-pounder is going to be blocked by a lot of these trees the further it moves up. And this Befehl Panzer III, just waiting for the Osttrooper to get ahead of it before it moves up, and that's pretty smart. He doesn't want to run into a 6-pounder, for example. On this bottom side, SPW 204, that's going to be driving back towards the artillery, because it's likely that Tarsh is going to bring in the supply to the artillery there. You can see we're now in phase B. Fodlord is no longer dealing with the low economy of the 70 points per minute. We haven't actually mentioned that yet, but the 70 points per minute is definitely a large factor in why Fodlord hasn't been able to reinforce as easily. But now we're in phase B. We can see the 6-pounder coming into play. We could see the second ram being afforded, and that's going to internal fragment the Panzer III. It looks like that Panzer III is dead. Yes, it is. It is gone. So we do see the reinforcements coming in for the town. It looks like Tarsh is now going to be going for a town push. He's brought in a Nebelwerfer to make that happen, and that will probably be why a supply will follow, and therefore allow the repair onto the SPW-204. The 6-pounder has revealed itself by firing at the Fusiliers. That should have been on return fire, ideally, because it is in such a risky position, unsupported by infantry. IG-18 is going to be able to fire a direct shot. But I think the FK18 is now on target, so that's going to be able to continue the fire. Panzerschreck, I think 2 Panzerschrecks have now been purchased for this top side. Really good idea against the ram, especially if Fodlord neglects the infantry there. We can now see these infantry coming in down the main road. So on this bottom side, recon has finally arrived. That's going to allow Fodlord to control this area, and the M7 or Priest DD here coming in is really going to allow him to control the open range engagement down here, which is a nice smart unit choice that may allow him to push his own infantry up to these orchards. He's just going to have to make sure he takes out this 3-star Pak 38, because that is a huge threat at the moment, and depending on where this Priest comes in, he might get taken out by that, but I like the way that he's going to be attack moving towards this area, so he maintains the longer range. Now in the town, Nebelwerfer has come in, took out the command infantry, took out one of the rifles, they got surrendered, and now the Stosstroop, they are going to be taking control of the town. And honestly, Fodlord's only response to this can be the Stormtrooper flamethrower combo, and that is exactly what he's doing. I like it. I also like that he hasn't overinvested in Stormtroopers early on, but I'm not sure how many he actually has left, because we've seen 1 die on the bottom side. I think we've seen 1 die sort of in the town here, and 1 sort of got engaged on the top. I'm not sure if it died though. So he may have a limited amount of Stormtroopers left, and that could spell doom against the Stosstroop, who have a significant amount of HE. And if they dodge the initial grenade, might be, well, they'll be relatively evenly matched against Stormtroopers. But the Priest DD coming into effect, going to be hitting the IG-18, already killed off some Osttrooper down here, putting Fodlord in a pretty strong position now. Panzerjäger has been forced back. The Panzerschreck is rolling forwards though. Tarsh is sitting on a 615 point lead, or the Staghound AA. It's advancing quickly. Not for much longer, as the Staghound AA gets killed by the Panzerschreck. There is 2 Panzerschrecks in these orchards now. Stormtroopers are going to come under fire of the Fusiliers. Machine guns pin them down, might kill them off. Really, really nice infantry engagement there. This Priest DD really needs to get aggressive and start moving down and start using these recon to try and like find targets, because otherwise that Priest DD will be wasted when it could otherwise be making a lot of ground for Fodlord. On this bottom side, it's going to be just rifles, unless the Stormtroopers got killed off by the Stosstroop. But rifles now with the flamethrowers, going to be trying to make some ground back through the town. Meanwhile, on the top side here, Panzerjäger's moving forwards with a weapon jam. I think that's a little bit of a missed micro there. It's following its previous order, going to be driving straight into the 6-pounder. Supply is finally on the way to resupply the Nibelwerfer 41. We do see, I think that's an 88 coming down the main road into the town. I actually really like that. That's a really smart move. Stosstroop going to be trying to get away from the flamethrower though. But don't need to, as these Stosstroop get the kill onto the flamethrower squad. And that's the trouble with 2-star flamethrower squads. You need to make sure that the infantry is already engaged by another squad, for example these rifles, and then you can move the flamethrower squad in and they will get a shot onto the Stosstroop without being fired back upon, which is ideal. But the Stosstroop there at close range versus the rifles, that's a lot of HE, and those Stosstroop are very high veterancy. I think the rifles might just be able to kill those off. Never mind. As they lose more men, it's less and less likely, and with Fodlord moving them away, you're actually going to get killed off. Stormtroopers are going to finish off the Stosstroop. Sniper scouts are moving forwards. The Priest DD has moved up. Personally, I think that should just come down again, cover this sort of open area with the maximum range. Sniper scouts have found the Osttroop in here. The Wolverine going to be getting involved. Losing these sniper scouts at this point is going to be really dangerous. Ideally, you should just let the sniper scouts fire at the Osttrooper and just try and kill them off, because that's the best bet in that situation. Command carrier is coming into the town just to make sure the extra veterancy is there. Stosstroop going to be coming up for the ambush from the bottom side, have used their smoke to gain cover. The Panzerjäger did die on this top side, so there's a limited amount of infantry here for Tarsh, but the Panzerschreck's still live, and I think it did kill the Ram. The Ram is dead. The Ram is gone on that top side. So really, really good job there by Tarsh. I must have missed that. But yeah, great stuff indeed. Stosstroop do get pinned in the end. Artillery from Tarsh actually hits his own Stosstroop and pins them down as well. Stormtroopers are going to be jumping down to try and pick up that surrender as they move back, and if they get line of sight they will surrender them. That's going to be job done. Panzerjäger now going to be able to engage, but no machine gun there means that pinning down those Stormtroopers is going to be relatively difficult. Large amount of forces now coming into the town. I think that's a triple kangaroo. It is indeed. With an 88 on the road though. It's no longer on the road. Shame. I thought that 88 was quite simply just going to unload here, so that if anything did come into the town, he could just bang it from a distance and then could advance with his own infantry. That would have been really smart. Sniper scouts on the fire once again. They're going to be taken out. Priest DD getting into position. Pack 38 no longer, or still not spotted. So Fodlord may have issues here on the bottom side with that Pack 38. Meanwhile in the town though, these kangaroos could be really risky for Tarsh to deal with actually, because there isn't much in the way of AT in this town. There is Panzer Grenadiers and Stosstroop and Grenführer, no AT. There is the Panzerjäger of course, but if he can accompany it with something like a Wolverine, then maybe he can take on the Panzerjäger. On the top side it's going to be Pioneers pushing through the orchards now, and since there's a severe lack of infantry on the side of Fodlord, Tarsh might be able to make some ground. However, reinforcements are on their way, including a Priest DD. And this Priest DD getting distracted by the Osttruppen. Osttruppen always doing their jobs. Actually, these are ersatz now. Yeah, still even better at doing their job, just dying and causing time waste for the opponents. That's what ersatz are fantastic for. Nibelwerfer does hit the town pretty damn hard, in fact, and almost kills off the rifle leader here. If these rifle leader are killed, then that would leave Fodlord in a very awkward position where a lot of these forces have the potential to be surrendered. Now it looks like these infantry have just about got here in time. The Pioneers need to be stopped before they get into these trees, because otherwise all of these infantry engagements will be the 100 meter range, which the Pioneers will absolutely dominate versus the rifles. So basically Fodlord needs to get into position as soon as possible and engage, preferably from a distance. Now the Pioneers do have a machine gun, so he needs to make sure they're in heavy cover, so that's not as effective. But with the N7DD also firing, that's on a fire position command. Interesting. Pioneers have managed to make it into the forest. They're going to bump into the rifles, grenade away. It's going to be a job done on the top side. Meanwhile on the bottom, Priest DD is pushing up. Stormtroopers also pushing up. Marder 2 is going to be engaging the 6-pounder from a distance. This Marder 2 is a big problem for Fodlord's push down here. This Priest DD is going to get killed. If it stays there for a couple more shots, the Marder 2 will most definitely find that kill. First shot bailed out. Then we see the Command Infantry go down here to the Stormtroopers. That's actually a relatively good kill because it takes away the veterancy from the Pak-38. But since the Marder 2 is in place and able to take on this 6-pounder, there's no reason for the Pak-38 anymore, and that doesn't need to be as threatening. And now also, with the Priest DD out of the way, IG-18 can move forward, so that's fantastic for Tarsh. And in the town here, we can see that a lot of the kangaroos are being taken out by the 50-meter range. Another Nebelwerfer has been brought in. That's going to pin down the remainder of the infantry in the town. They're going to be led by the SBW-204 CDM and a couple of infantry. Might be able to find a lot of surrenders, and the Marder 2 taken out by the 6-pounder and the M7DD is absolutely devastating right now for Fodlord. He is into Phase C, so he does have access to things like 17-pounders now, but honestly, Tarsh's management of his 352nd in this game so far has been absolutely fantastic. I really love the use of the FK-18s, and plenty of them. I love the use of the Panzerschreck, specifically on the top side, to counter the Rams. On the bottom side, the use of the IG-18s early on against the 3rd Canadian that struggles to deal with them. Just all those moves together have really worked out well for him so far. And he's actually dealt also very well with the infantry at close range. Normally the Stormtrooper Flamethrower squad combination early on can be very devastating, but in this case we didn't actually see the Flamethrowers accompany the Stormtroopers early, and maybe a couple of Stormtroopers wasted on the top and bottom side when they could have otherwise been used to counter any pushes into the town. The Wolverine here, that's going to be engaging Ersatz again? Yeah, those Ersatz really are causing a massive distraction at the moment. This Wolverine, however, waiting to be shot by this Pak-38. IG-18 is going to be pushing up. Pak-38 surely has been spotted here. No, the rifles cannot see it. I would have thought if the IG-18 was firing at those rifles had line of sight to see that Pak-38 has moved up, but apparently not. So the Pak-38 is going to get a nice ambush here onto this Wolverine, and that could be an absolutely devastating kill for Fodlord. Has come into the tree line. Okay, first shot misses. IG-18 is under fire from the artillery, but the Wolverine does go down. Pak-38 does the job. Now we see some infantry advancing. These 2-star Sextons, I said how deadly they would be against IGs and Pak-38s, and in this case they most certainly were against the IG-18, killing that in a few shots. But now it's just a matter of taking out this Pak-38 as well, but the Wolverine's already dead, so damage is already done. Flak 88 on the top side, hammering reinforcements as they arrive. That is not what Fodlord would like to see, but at this point in the game, the kill-death ratio is like so far in favor of Tarsh, it's unbelievable. He's killed so many vital units, both Rams, now the Wolverine. He's killed the M7DD on the bottom side, 2 6-pounders down here. He's killed multiple infantry. On the top side, it's like those Rams I already mentioned. And then in the town, it's like kangaroos and all of the rifles that came with them. They're all dead. Crazy stuff. Anyway, rifles or Ersatz have moved forwards. Sniper scouts are the only thing really holding the bottom side. We're pushing a 63% territory lead now for Tarsh, and it's a +2 on the board, almost a +3 at the 65%. IG-33 has come in. That's going to be engaged upon by the Kangaroo at close range. The Kangaroo might be able to pin that down before the IG fires, but that IG has 27 HE. There was definitely a big potential there for that IG to just one-shot the Kangaroo, but not going to happen this time around. With the Crusader AA Mark II there as well, I think that IG-18 is just very dead. And there is a Ju-87 coming in. Nebelwerfer's hit the town once again as well. Oh, the Ju-87 there, going to hit the Crusader AA Mark II, puts it into a weapon jam, takes that out of the picture. And with the Crusader AA gone on his top side pretty much, that Ju-87 is free to come back around and go for shots onto these Priest DDs. Focke-Wulf 190 also free to strafe ground targets. That is huge. Sniper scouts have been spotted in the field here. They're going to be engaging the Aufklärer and Ersatztruppen. Double Sexton going to be firing away, one onto the 88, one onto the Pak 40 that's trying to sneak forwards. Ju-87 didn't find a kill onto either of the priests. Spitfire going to be coming in for the strafe onto the 88, but we do see the ME-109G0 getting on the tail of that Spitfire, and that is a rookie mistake from Fodlord. He needs to keep those Spitfires up to prevent a future Ju-87G strike if he wants to do that, rather than trying to use it aggressively in strafe. In this case, already too much AA spotted. Absolutely no reason for that. ME-109G0 trying to strafe these sniper scouts, since they are ripping to shreds his ersatz, and also they previously killed the Aufklärer. The Marders don't have any HE, so they can't engage that from range either. IG-18 here is under fire from the Priest DD, and these Priest DDs have controlled the top side quite well. But I just feel like there's a severe lack of tanks left for Fodlord. I don't know if he has any Shermans available. Shermans would be fantastic at this point. But nope, Fodlord's going to surrender. And after 26 minutes and 21 seconds, Tarsh is victorious versus Fodlord. And yeah, look at that kill death. 2,160 kills to 990 losses. Absolutely fantastic job by Tarsh with the 352nd. Early on, really utilised the IG-18s very well. Let's have a look at the kills and losses. Kills for the 3rd Canadian are as follows. We've got the Priest DD coming in. Really nice choice for the bottom side, but wasn't really utilised effectively. It should have maintained the 1,200 meter range and allowed for infantry to push across the open and reveal basically targets for the priest as they pushed, and that would have been the ideal use for the priest, but it got a bit too close for comfort and got killed off because of that due to the Marder 2 getting into range very quickly. Stormtroopers obviously very effective, did kill off 2 Stossrup and the Grenadiers, but I feel like there was a lack of them left in the sort of mid-game when Tarsh pushed into the town. I like that he didn't overinvest into Stormtroopers early on. He had like 1 Stormtrooper, 1 rifle, and the Wasp for the town with a command, and that was smart. But just like keeping the rest of those Stormtroopers in reserve for when the town gets hot, that is definitely worth doing. However, in this case, the town literally got hot with the Nebelwerfer 41s firing into that, so maybe it wouldn't have mattered in the end anyway. But yeah, really, really interesting kills. Over on the losses side, IG-18. What an absolute hero that was on the bottom side, getting the Universal Carrier, taking that fire support away, took out the 6-pounder, Vickers HMG, Scouts, Rifles. Remember, these things cost like 45 points a pop, so that's a lot of kills for a 45-point unit. Panzerschreck costs even less, 30 points. Ram 2, Universal Carrier, and 2 Wasp Mark 2s. Saved the day on the top side for sure. If those Wasp Mark 2s hadn't been killed, then basically Tarsh was in so much trouble because all of his infantry did not have AT, and that would have been a huge issue. But the Panzerschreck being allowed to find those kills was really important and was a massive swing in this game. Panzerjäger came in, got a few kills there. Befehl Panzer III probably could have been utilised a little bit better, but was otherwise a good choice on the top side. 88 was the one that picked up the Ram 2 kill in the end, as the Ram 2 probably got too aggressive without cover of recon and rifles. It's one thing that the 3rd Canadian were lacking for a lot of the game was the rifles. Yes, they had the sniper scouts on the bottom side, but they came in relatively late, and therefore the M7 couldn't really be utilised properly. The Pioneers are fantastic, of course, and those taking out 3 units of infantry for the cost of 1 is really, really nice. Marder 2 coming in and cleaning up the 6-pounder and Priest DD was a perfect choice, so fantastic job there. And then the Wolverine got picked off by the Pak 38, really nice ambush. I knew this Pak 38 would get a kill eventually, and it did towards the end of the game there. So a very, very interesting game. The 3rd Canadian are very weak to the 352nd early on if the AT guns and AT in general are utilised properly, and we saw that in this game. The Panzerschrecks obviously ruining the push from the 3rd Canadian, and on the bottom side the Pak 38 with the 2 stars, very, very potent indeed, but didn't really show us how potent it can be, which is unfortunate, but still. Those things are what matter in this matchup, and Tarsh utilising it very well. IG-18 as well, definitely worth mentioning in the Phase A versus 3rd Canadian. But that's where I'm going to leave it, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.